Oh, hi, 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 hi. Welcome to Drive Innovative Africa. We are sorry that we are late. We are so very sorry, and we'll be streaming this event live on YouTube, and where people will be joining. Um, before we go forward, let's just listen to some documentary that we made. Thank you so much.
How does a small, young company beat an industry giant on its own turf? Through what Harvard Business School professor Clayton Christensen calls disruptive innovation. It works like this. Big players focus on sustaining innovation, upgrading existing products and services to attract higher paying customers. But soon, they start to ignore all the regular customers who just want simple, low-cost alternatives. That's where the entrepreneurial company jumps in with that basic offering. The big guys stay focused on more profitable customers and begin to overserve, adding bells and whistles no one wants to pay for. Meanwhile, the disruptor improves its product to appeal to more people. By the time the incumbent notices, the disruptor has already started to take over the market. The classic example is the steel mini mills, which first produced low-quality rebar, then moved to sheet steel, stealing business from the large mills that had been dominant. More recent disruptors include car makers like Toyota and Hyundai, which launched with economy models, then added luxury features and brands. The only way for industry giants to fight back is by launching their own disruptive innovations. To succeed, they must treat the project as a separate unit with a different business model and growth expectations. Ask, what job do customers need to get done? Segment customers by job, not by product, market size, or demographics. And develop basic, low-cost ways to get the job done. That's how Procter & Gamble came up with Crest White Strips, a cheap do-it-yourself alternative to an expensive dental service. Disruptive innovation creates new markets and reshapes existing ones. To achieve growth in a fast-changing world, you want to be a disruptor. Don't be disrupted.
Thank you so much for that. Welcome back. Welcome back to Drive Innovative Africa. Joe is what was saying. Um, we are expecting her guests by 11:20, and I think she's part of us. Let's hear from her before before we play another movie about. Thank you so much. Can we want to bring our stage now? Hello, good morning, ma.
Good morning, Drive Innovative Africa. How are you today?
I'm fine, ma. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining. So please, ma, can you just
Yes,
introduce
I
yourself
believe my
before you
audio
come
is
up,
good,
ma?
right?
Yes, ma. Yes, ma.
Okay, okay, great. So I'm Dr. Oyekemi Oyelola, and I work with Dangote Cement PLC as a sustainability manager. I'm representing Dr. Igazuma, who is the group head of sustainability at Dangote Cement PLC. She's unavoidably absent today, so I'm standing in her stead today. Thank you very much for having me today. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. So we are giving here a topic: energy and sustainability, young people and tracking the global sometimes challenge. So before she come up, please let's just play another video and then she can come up. So because of our timing, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Today, the term innovation is almost exclusively used in a business context. It's usually characterized as being something entirely novel, technology-based, and causing positive impact on the world. But innovation is a much broader concept than that and can come in many different forms. So, what exactly is innovation? The term innovation was popularized in the late 19th century by French sociologist Gabriel Tarde as novelty, but with no explicit definition. Victor Thomson in 1965 defined innovation as the generation, acceptance, and implementation of new ideas, processes, products, or services. In simple words, Innovation is concerned with the creation and pursuit of new ideas, but new ideas don't have to come from nowhere. Many innovations are actually imitations of nature. Biomimicry has led to some of the world's greatest technological innovations, from Velcro tape based on burr fruits to bullet trains modelled after the kingfisher beak. Replication has always been a part of innovation. Technological developments like the internet, e-commerce and computers have shaped the discussion around innovation and in a way dominated it. But the scope of innovation goes beyond tech-based products or services. It can also come in the form of an ideology. The ideology that brought freedom to an entire nation and led to its independence was ahimsa, which simply means non-violence in Sanskrit. Mahatma Gandhi used the principle of ahimsa to inspire millions of people across the nation to rebel against the British, which ultimately won India its freedom. Ahimsa was a radically different way to achieve large-scale political and social change. Innovation can therefore also be a way of thinking, or a way of doing things differently while still achieving your goals. One of the many reasons that innovation is widely encouraged and sought after is that it's believed to bring positive change. But sometimes, innovation has unintended consequences. Recent developments in automation, for example, have caused massive disruption in the labour market. And even seemingly harmless services like Airbnb have had a negative impact on the affordability of housing for millions of people. This highlights the fact that even well-intentioned innovations don't necessarily always lead to entirely positive results. Innovation is a broad concept that extends beyond its commonly understood definition and scope. However, some things are constant. Innovation requires you to think and perceive things differently from others. Being more innovative starts with a creative mindset. Harvard professor Teresa Amabile developed a framework that implies that creativity arises through the merging of knowledge, critical thinking, and motivation. With these basic ingredients, it doesn't matter if the context is business, technology, or society. If the idea is wholly new, or even if the result is ultimately positive, innovation can exist in many different forms. Let's recap. Innovation does not always have to be completely novel. Technology based on biomimicry is also innovation. Innovation does not always have to be product or service based. It can also be an ideology, like that of ahimsa that helped India win its freedom. Innovation can sometimes have unintended negative consequences, like the loss of jobs due to AI and Airbnb affecting affordability of housing for millions of people.
Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ready? 11:17. So we'll begin our section with can you hear me, ma?
Okay, yes, I can hear you now. I think you went off for a bit.
Yeah, it's a network actually. So we
Yes.
want to begin the section with you, ma.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for having me. Once again, I'm Dr. Oyekemi Oyelola from Dangote Cement PLC, Sustainability Manager there, and I'm standing, in for Dr. Egazuma Okoroba, who is the Group Head of Sustainability at Dangote Cement PLC. She's unavoidably absent today, and I'll be standing on all existing protocols. So I'm really glad, that this forum is coming up at this time. World Environment Day was celebrated yesterday, and it is just a good time to have conversations in terms of innovation and what the youths can do, in terms of the environment. So my keynote speech today is going to be on energy and sustainability, young people and tackling the global climate challenge. Now, I'll first of all start with what sustainability is. Now, the UN defines sustainability as this current generation meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. In essence, we shouldn't be selfish. Satisfy your needs, but in the coming future, leave enough resources that future generations will be able to meet their needs. And then it doesn't have to relate only to the environment alone. I mean, other definitions of sustainability has to do with the capacity to maintain or to improve the state or availability of desirable materials or conditions. It can also relate to the long-term viability of a community or of a set of social institutions or societal practices. So basically, it means that sustainability transcends generations. So it's not just your generation. You're looking at how your actions and your activities now affect the future generations. I mean, what our predecessors, what our previous generation have done, we are experiencing the results now. And so also your children and your children's children will also experience the consequences of our own actions and activities now. So sustainability is how we are to look at this and ensure that our future generations do not look back and wonder what we did to cause them so much damage. Now, sustainability is not only just about environmentalism, it also includes the social aspect of life, it includes the economic aspect of life. So it's a holistic approach. And that's why sustainability has got three pillars. It's got the environmental pillar, it's got the economic pillar, as well as the social pillar. The environmental pillar addresses environmental problems, which we are all aware of. The economic pillar, addresses issues between striking a balance between economic growth and profits of maybe of an organization or probably a nation or a country, or a business. And of course, the social pillar has to do with how people live and relate with the environment. Now, for the purpose of the topic that we're discussing today, young people and tackling the climate change challenge globally, we'll be talking about the environmental pillar. And one of the offshoots of the environmental pillar is climate change. Now, what does climate change mean? Climate change refers to a long-term shift, long-term shifts rather, in temperature patterns and weather patterns over a period of time. Now, climate change is a natural phenomenon. It's gonna happen, but it was supposed to happen over billions of years. But because of activities of man, anthropogenic activities, it has now been accelerated. And so climate change has come upon us much, much, much earlier than it was supposed to. And one of the main drivers of climate change and the consequences that we're experiencing now is the depletion of natural resources. So things like burning of fossil fuel. Fossil fuels are non-renewable resources. They're natural, but they are non-renewable because it took them. I mean, those materials were made over a period of millions of years. So the rate at which we are depleting is quite faster than the rate at which it can be replenished, and that's why they are renewable resources. So burning of these fossil fuels like coal, like gas, like oil, emits what we call greenhouse gases. So greenhouse gases, for example, you have carbon dioxide, you have methane, you have chlorofluorocarbons. So these are all chemicals that when you burn materials, it's released into the atmosphere. And then these gases, get into the atmosphere and stratosphere, and then it traps heat. It's just similar to, I don't know if I'm sure some of us here might be farmers and you may know what a greenhouse looks like. So a greenhouse is like a glass building or a glass house, where you can plant crops that normally will not grow, in certain seasons. So in a greenhouse, you can plant crops in it even out of season. And that's because the greenhouse is able to maintain a certain temperature. So it absorbs light from the sun and then heats up the greenhouse, and then the temperature is maintained so that these crops can grow, even if it's out of season. So that's similar to what's happening to the planet, to the Earth, planet Earth right now. Planet Earth is like a greenhouse, right? And the sun rays hitting upon the glass house, which is the Earth, warming up the Earth. Now, of course, there has to be an exchange. as the heat is being absorbed by the earth, there should be a form of radiation to release the heat. But because you have all these gases, in the stratosphere and in the atmosphere, it's absorbing and trapping the heat. So the earth has become warmer than it should be at this time. And because of that, the earth is warm, so a lot of cascade effect is happening. You have a lot of ice, polar ice caps, they are melting, and because it's melting, you have increased volume of water. So you have flooding, all over the world. I'm sure all of us watch international news, and we don't even need to look too far. Even in our own, country here, we've had issues of flooding. Other issues are deforestation, because the earth is becoming too warm for plants to grow, so they are dying off. And then, of course, our own activities as humans, we are utilizing all these resources faster than we are replenishing it. For example, trees, we are cutting down trees faster than we are planting. And because of that, trees have become extinct, more or less. Same with biodiversity. We have a lot of losses from there. And all these are what makes the ecosystem of life bearable for humans. So if we are depleting all this faster than we are replenishing, then there is a problem. So in the next 20, 30, 40 years, there are some trees, there are some species that the future generation may not even know about because we have depleted them so much that they become extinct. Some other effects of climate change are also caused from some industries, energy industry, the transport industry, building industry, even agriculture. You know, they're all secreting or emitting greenhouse gases. And these greenhouse gases are what is causing global warming, and the effect and consequence is what we see in climate change right now. So it is very imperative that at this time, climate change solutions are preferred. And the three categories by which these emissions can be reduced, change can be reduced, or at least mitigated, is cutting down emissions. One, adapting to climate impact. So you cut down your emissions, reduce the use of natural resources, reduce the cutting down of trees, reduce the use of natural resources, or if that can be done, then how can you adapt, to the impacts of this climate change that we are seeing now, the flooding that we are seeing, how can we adapt to it? We may not be able to stop the use of natural resources, but how can we adapt to what is happening right now? And then, of course, finance is also important. For us to carry out some of these climate actions, we need finance. And of course, there are also frameworks and policies that will be needed, which, the UN, has been able to do and all that. And of course, we have the sustainable development goals as well, the SDGs, which I'm sure you're all aware of, because I believe that the audience, comprise mainly of environmentalists. So you must be aware of the sustainable development goals. So these are goals that were developed by the UN, to ensure that we try to either mitigate climate change or adapt to it, so that at least we slow down the effect and consequences of climate change, so that by the time we get into the future, at least the future generation will have enough resources, to utilize for their own time and then live for their own generation as well. So now, for climate change, the most vulnerable set of groups that are impacted by climate change are youths and children. And this, further broadens um, uh, inequality, between the youths and then the older generation. The older generation have enjoyed the earlier part of their lives. They've enjoyed how the earth looked like earlier on. But now the youths are here. They are born into this earth that is so warm. It's flooding everywhere. The impact of climate change is being felt. They don't even know what some trees look like. They don't even know what some species look like. They are telling them about some animals and they have no clue, because they become extinct because of the effects of climate change. So we have to stop that. And because youths are the most vulnerable, we have to rise up, to fight for our generation and also for our future generation as well. So the SDG goals are also important. We need to look into those goals and see which ones we can work with. You may not, I mean, each of these goals have indicators, they have targets. So you may just pick a particular target in a sustainability goal and run with it. Look for the one that you seek or you're passionate about and work with it. Now, how can youth get involved in climate change? Now, youth of today are the vehicles to the sustainable future of tomorrow. And according to the Brundtland Report, which is the UN, we have to establish climate action initiatives, especially in Africa. I know there was a time when we used to hear about climate change and it seems so far fetched, that this is not going to happen to us. This is happening in the US, in the UK, in Asia, and all that. But now it's upon us. We are seeing the effects here. We all know the situation of the country. So we have to begin to think sustainably. We have to look at the impact of climate change. And some of the strategies that have been employed by youth, to raise awareness about climate change is campaigns, climate strikes, public demonstrations, artistic expressions. At least one thing that I know about youth is that you're quite artistic. And I like that second video that was shown by the moderator, where he was talking about innovation. At times, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. The wheel is already there. You just need to find a way to get it moving. Okay? So now, they also, for youth, they also need to be engaged in decision making as well as public awareness. And this is where the government comes in, this is where organizations come in. Now, just to look at some statistics, youth involvement in climate change has gained momentum, over the past decade. For example, in 2021, over 70%, of under 18s who participated in the poll on climate change quite agreed that climate change is a global emergency and something has to be done. And I believe we all have heard about COP28, which is a conference of parties. This is an environmental forum, that happens every year, and all stakeholders in the environmental sector, and climate change sector come into this program, and then they talk about how they can, mitigate the effects of climate change. And during one of these conference of parties in 2021, a global youth position statement was instituted, and it constituted of 40,000 youth leaders from all over the world. And this statement called for integrating youth rights in climate change mitigation and adaptation. And I believe that the audience consists of youth leaders as well. The following year, in 2022, this forum or this group of leaders were able to engage policy makers. And in the process of their lobbying, they were able to establish a fund, to ensure that any loss and damage, that comes from climate change, at least there's a fund available, for those who are impacted by that climate change consequence. So they were able to help their communities, vulnerable communities, especially in developing countries, rather, to adapt to climate change. Now, coming down to the nitty gritty of it, how does that impact us in Africa? How does that impact us in Nigeria? How does that impact us in Lagos? Now, empowering youth for climate change combat. It has become a combat now. We are fighting for our generation. How can youths be involved? Now, I'll first of all talk to our older audience. The first is incorporation of climate education in the school curricula. And I'm so glad that Mrs. Aobisa is here. She's going to be a part of this program. She's the commissioner for the Lagos State Ministry of Education, and I believe that she'll be able to speak to this because it is very vital that we start climate education right from inception, right from nursery school, right from elementary school, going on to secondary school. Some of us didn't hear about climate change until we got into the university. But that should start right from the beginning so that innovative thinking, can start quite early on, and then it can be implemented as the youths grow older. Another thing is upskilling of youths. Now, in addition to education in school, youth needs to be upskilled. Things like leadership skills, advocacy skills, strategic knowledge. You have this innovative idea. How will you bring it to pass? How will you access funding? How will you access your network group? How will you identify those who can partner with you? So youths need to be upskilled. And this is where I'm calling out to the government. I'm calling out to organizations, both private and public, in the private and public sector, NGOs, who can help to upskill youths in climate leadership, in climate strategy knowledge based trainings, in advocacy approaches, especially in environmental sectors, in sustainability on climate change. So this is a call out to them as well. Also, we, the older generation, need to also amplify the causes of youths. Now, youths come up with a lot of innovative ideas. The older generation should be able to have a listening ear and see how they can help the youths to amplify their causes, because they need to start taking their places as climate change, in whatever location or locality they find themselves. Also, youth should be engaged in climate action dialogues. So it shouldn't be only, the older generation attending, events like COP28 or any of the, there's going to be COP29 next year. The youths as well should be involved. They should be involved in policy making. They should be involved, engaged as well. Get ideas from them, help them implement it, let them be in the driver's seat, and then the older generations will be the ones backing them up. So those are ways that our youth can be empowered. And of course, funding is also very important. There are some innovations that will need to be funded. The youth may not have the financial capacity to be able to do that. But the older generation will be able to do that. So this is where I said I call upon organizations and government agencies to help out on the youths. To help out the youths, in bringing their innovations to fruition. Now, example of some youth-led initiatives that have been done globally, to address the effects of climate change. As I said, some of the effects of climate change, has been flooding. We've had a lot of deforestation. That is the cutting down of trees, to meet needs, and then by so doing, you no longer have trees, and then there's no more shade. Trees also as well act as sinks. They take in carbon dioxide, all these greenhouse gases that cause climate change. They actually help to sequester it. They help to take it in, because in the process of photosynthesis, they take in CO2 and release oxygen. This is our basic integrated science in secondary school. So they take in CO2, which is a greenhouse gas, and then they release oxygen, which we humans need to breathe. But when we now cut it all off, there's no more absorption of CO2 by these trees. And then, of course, there isn't a release of CO2. So you have a lot of greenhouse gases being released because we have cut down our trees. And of course, we have other prevailing issues. Waste. Waste is not a problem because there's nowhere to dispose of waste, no more land, we have to start thinking of how to reuse materials rather than using natural resources and depleting it. We have to start thinking of how we can reuse, how we can recycle, how we can reduce waste. And a lot of youth all over the world have come up with different innovative ideas on how they can utilize waste, and also how they can, attend to the different climate issues or challenges that have come up. An example is Planet 3R here in Nigeria. This is an enterprise that converted pure water plastic bags into textile, into materials that were made into clothes and into bags. That was an innovation. Who would have thought that the water sachets that you buy on the street can actually be converted into material that you can convert into a dress or into a bag? In somewhere in Ghana, there's a company called Nelplast. This is a recycling company, and they had an issue of plastic waste, single-use plastic waste. When I say single-use plastic waste that cannot be used again. You use it once and you just toss it away. Most of the plastic bottles, the plastic water bottles we drink, fall into that category. We just use and toss. We don't even think of how to reuse it or recycle it. But this person in Ghana was able to take this material, had an innovative technology. He came up with innovative technology, and this particular plastic is now being used, as building bricks. Who would have thought that plastic can be used as building bricks to build a house. He built a house in which he lives in, and that is what Ghana is using now, as part of their building materials. We also have climate action and advocacy clubs in schools, where you bring about climate education to children. So just as the government is trying to incorporate it in the curriculum, we also have these clubs in schools where you can start, speaking to children about climate change and how they can think of how to mitigate the impact, because this is now a worldwide pandemic. It is not just the government that is involved. Everyone is being affected by the effects of climate change. Another innovation is the Green Squad. And this is just a grassroots organization devoted to tackling climate change. So there are a lot of innovations out there that youths can think of and come up with, and then of course the older generation can help with mentoring, with funding, and all that. So because of time, I'll just really like to talk about our call to action. So, youths of today, what are we called to do? I mean, the theme of this program is disrupt, innovation, thrive, fundamental elements for unlocking the limitless potential of African youths. We have that potential in us, regardless of whatever location we are. We don't have to be in the Western world to make an impact in our generation. When we say disrupt or disruption, we are not talking about destructive disruption. We're talking about a constructive disruption where you bring about a change, in your location, in your environment, in your place of work, for the good of not just yourself, but of those around you. Innovation is also very important. And then how do you sustain the innovation? How do you thrive? I mean, sustainability itself defines what sustainability is about, the ability to sustain. How do you sustain the natural resources you have? How do you sustain the peace that you have around you? How do you sustain what you have right now so that your future generation will also have some resources to use when it comes to their time? So now the youth movement is ripe enough to take on climate change as a challenge. The global community must harness the vitality and the energy of youths in tackling climate change, thereby ensuring sustainability. Not only are youth able to provide a dynamic approach to sustainability, but the fresh ideas, the fresh views, the innovative solutions that youth bring about, is also crucial to this generation, because whether we like it or not, the youths will inherit the consequences of climate change. And the earlier we start dealing with those consequences right now, the better for our generation. So, as a closing note, I'll just like to say that you, I, everyone on this call, we are youths. We are to rise up to ensure that we combat climate change. How can we do that? Join advocacy groups. Look for advocacy groups that goes in line with what your passion is in terms of the environment, in terms of sustainability. Look for partnerships, network, vocalize and visualize your ideas. Social media is a great, great tool for you to do this. You can meet people on social media, you can project your ideas and visualize your ideas on social media. Just as you are looking for the next gossip or the latest fashion in social media, you can also be a source of inspiration to someone on your social media pages. Talk about the SDGs. Go read what the different SDGs stand for. What are the different subtopics under the SDGs? And then select and choose which one you align with. Look for advocacy groups that go in line with what your desires are in terms of whatever SDGs that you have considered. Work with them. Make your innovations, clear to the world. And then, even in social media, you can also come in contact with those who can fund, whatever your innovative ideas might be. And I am very sure that we'll be able to make an impact in our generation as youths. So, once again, disrupt, innovation, thrive. We need to make an impact in our generation. World Environment Day was yesterday. What did we do? What did we do in terms of our views? What did we do in terms of our thoughts about climate change, about the environment? These are some of the things, these are some of the ways that we can start to make an impact, in our generation. Look for commemorative days. Be a partaker. You have beach cleanups. We have organizations who go to beaches and clean up the beaches. Be a part of them. Join different advocacy groups, and then I'm sure that we'll be able to make an impact in our generation. So once again, I welcome everyone to this program, and there is a lot of knowledge that will be disseminated. I mean, we've got two panel sessions. We've got another keynote speaker in the commissioner for the Lagos State Ministry of Education, and I believe that we'll be able to pick one or two things, that will help us. Remember, we have inherited, the consequences of climate change, so we have to be able to look for solutions, innovative ideas to move on and leave enough for the next generation. So thank you very much for your time, and I hope you enjoy the session. Thank you. So over to you, presenter. Well, I'm sorry, I think you're muted.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so very much for the opportunity you gave us and the speech. I want to say very big thank you. I've learned a lot today actually about the climate change and what the youth need to do as a whole. What can you, as a takeaway for the youth that are listening to you, what can you advise us on this?
Okay, so just as I said earlier, I mean, we may not be able to do much in the sense that, okay, funding, because to be able to bring our innovations to fruition, funding is very important. So, but I mean, we have these ideas, and let's vocalize our ideas, vocalize our innovations, and then that the funding will come. We then attract, people and organizations that can, take these ideas and bring about the changes that we have. So don't be silent, don't be quiet. Whatever you see that is wrong in your environment, say something. Look for a solution. Don't say, oh, this doesn't concern me. Oh, climate change. Oh, we only see it on TV, on CNN, or maybe the news. It's not happening to me where I live in Agege. So, but I mean, climate change is here. The consequence and the effect is here. We have a lot of flooding. Can you even imagine the heat, that the heat wave that we've been experiencing for some months? I mean, it's been raining now, so now we don't even have rainy season or dry season or harmattan. Everything is just in mishmash because of the consequence of climate change. The weather patterns have changed because of our activities. That little trash that you throw in the gutter, that you throw on the road, do you know where it ends up? So things like that. Start from your family, start from your home, start sustainability from your home. Think about your actions. This action I'm going to take, how is it going to impact my neighbor? How is it going to impact my community? How is it going to impact the state? How is it going to now impact the nation? So before you do things, think and act. This action I'm going to take, how is it going to affect the next person to me? That's what sustainability is about. As I'm enjoying myself now, will whoever is around in the next 50 years going to be able to enjoy the same thing? So that is what I want us to think about. Yeah, so sustainability, innovation, and then thinking about the future. Don't just think for now and then think that's it. Think for the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your timing. Really appreciate. These are regards to Doctor. Thank you for sending, and we would love to have you again in our physical event in October. But we have a physical event in Lasso, which is coming up very soon in October. And if we don't mind if you can follow us to other states because we have this same event in other states. We have in Kaduna, we have in Ondo, we have in Oshun, and we have in Castina because those schools, four schools are already calling us to come and do something like this in their school. We don't mind if writing letter to Dangote to volunteer someone to come and speak at this event. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your timing. God bless you. Thank you, man.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Great job. Well done for what you
Before we go to thank you so much, man. Before we go for the panel section for 11 this 11:50, let's play the same event because I know that you people are not here when we play the second video before we bring out about politics.
Today, the term innovation is almost exclusively used in a business context. It's usually characterized as being something entirely novel, technology-based, and causing positive impact on the world. But innovation is a much broader concept than that and can come in many different forms. So, what exactly is innovation? The term innovation was popularized in the late 19th century by French sociologist Gabriel Tarde as novelty, but with no explicit definition. Victor Thomson in 1965 defined innovation as the generation, acceptance, and implementation of new ideas, processes, products, or services. In simple words, innovation is concerned with the creation and pursuit of new ideas, but new ideas don't have to come from nowhere. Many innovations are actually imitations of nature. Biomimicry has led to some of the world's greatest technological innovations, from Velcro tape based on burr fruits to bullet trains modelled after the kingfisher beak. Replication has always been a part of innovation. Technological developments like the internet, e-commerce, and computers have shaped the discussion around innovation and in a way dominated it. But the scope of innovation goes beyond tech-based products or services. It can also come in the form of an ideology. The ideology that brought freedom to an entire nation and led to its independence was ahimsa, which simply means non-violence in Sanskrit. Mahatma Gandhi used the principle of ahimsa to inspire millions of people across the nation to rebel against the British, which ultimately won India its freedom. Ahimsa was a radically different way to achieve large-scale political and social change. Innovation can therefore also be a way of thinking, or a way of doing things differently while still achieving your goals. One of the many reasons that innovation is widely encouraged and sought after is that it's believed to bring positive change. But sometimes, innovation has unintended consequences. Recent developments in automation, for example, have caused massive disruption in the labour market. And even seemingly harmless services like Airbnb have had a negative impact on the affordability of housing for millions of people. This highlights the fact that even well-intentioned innovations don't necessarily always lead to entirely positive results. Innovation is a broad concept that extends beyond its commonly understood definition and scope. However, some things are constant. Innovation requires you to think and perceive things differently from others. Being more innovative starts with a creative mindset. Harvard professor Teresa Amabile developed a framework that implies that creativity arises through the merging of knowledge, critical thinking, and motivation. With these basic ingredients, it doesn't matter if the context is business, technology, or society. If the idea is wholly new, or even if the result is ultimately positive, innovation can exist in many different forms. Let's recap. Innovation does not always have to be completely novel. Technology based on biomimicry is also innovation. Innovation does not always have to be product or service based. It can also be an ideology, like that of Ahimsa that helped India win its freedom. Innovation can sometimes have unintended negative consequences, like the loss of jobs due to AI and Airbnb affecting affordability of housing for millions of people.
Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed our video. If you did, leave us a like and subscribe if you haven't already.
How does a small, young company beat an industry giant on its own turf? Through what Harvard Business School professor Clayton Christensen calls disruptive innovation. It works like this. Big players focus on sustaining innovation, upgrading existing products and services to attract higher-paying customers. But soon, they start to ignore all the regular customers who just want simple, low-cost alternatives. That's where the entrepreneurial company jumps in, with that basic offering. The big guys stay focused on more profitable customers and begin to overserve, adding bells and whistles no one wants to pay for. Meanwhile, the disruptor improves its product to appeal to more people. By the time the incumbent notices, the disruptor has already started to take over the market. The classic example is the steel mini mills, which first produced low-quality rebar, then moved to sheet steel, stealing business from the large mills that had been dominant. More recent disruptors include car makers like Toyota and Hyundai, which launched with economy models, then added luxury features and brands. The only way for industry giants to fight back is by launching their own disruptive innovations. To succeed, they must treat the project as a separate unit with a different business model and growth expectations. Ask, what job do customers need to get done? Segment customers by job, not by product, market size, or demographics. And develop basic, low-cost ways to get the job done. That's how Procter & Gamble came up with Crest White Strips, a cheap, do-it-yourself alternative to an expensive dental service. Disruptive innovation creates new markets and reshapes existing ones. To achieve growth in a fast-changing world, you want to be a disruptor. Don't be disrupted.
Thank you so much. I think we are going to end this section till we're going to end this section till sorry, we're checking till 1 o'clock. By 1 o'clock, I'm trying to bring out something before the 1 o'clock because we are having our next guest speaker by 1 o'clock, and this is already 11:57. So I don't want to quit till. So I'm trying to see what to play in what we have here. Okay, let's go into 20 top 20 best small business ideas that you can actually do as a youth. Not because our panel section they are not connecting, and I'm be trying to reach them, and we are not seeing them online. Let's show this and see.
Top 20 Best Small Business Ideas for Beginners. Starting a small business can be frightening and requires plenty of careful planning. There are many small business ideas which can be beneficial as well as economical. The last thing a new entrepreneur or new business needs is to be found in a financial state due to unnecessary spending. When starting a small business, the key is to remember it is small, and initially the intention should be to limit spending until a profit is made. So, let's get started with top 20 best small business ideas for beginners. 1. Yoga center and help people to be healthy and fit. 2. Start catering business for providing foods on special functions, events, and parties. 3. Travel agency. People often travel to different destinations. Travel is a business which is never going to stop, so start a travel agency. 4. Fast food shop and provide quality food. 5. Start chocolate cafes. We all love chocolate and just can't resist it. You can eat your profits all the way to the bank with this enterprise. 6. fitness programs by running fitness courses. 7. One product restaurants. This capitalizes on one specific type of food and all you can do with it. Sounds crazy, but it makes many millions. 8. Hosted security provider. Get paid to keep other people's websites free from hackers, spyware, trojans, worms, and viruses. 9. Data backup. Help others to back up all their data so they can retrieve it later if need be. 10. Surveillance camera. These are a hot item these days to be selling. With all the crazy people out there, today every business can use one. 11. Start a massage business. 12. Home improvement and handyman services. 13. Children's educational programs and services. 14. Software products and application development. 15. Consulting services. This is another one of the top business ideas. If you already have work experience, this is a great area where you can start your business. If you have knowledge of other firms unrelated to yours, you can expand your consulting services and even learn from each. That way, you can cash in more. 16. Selling car and machinery spare parts. 17. Professional car washing business. This can be a good business if you choose big cities and towns where you will be able to find a number of good cars. 18. Internet connection provider service. You can provide fast internet connection at affordable monthly rates and manage it well enough to make tons of money. 19. Start a furniture business by hiring a carpenter. 20. Pure water production and sell as sachet, bagged, or bottled water. The internet is a great resource for small business ideas. Thousands of people have great ideas for a business venture but require assistance getting the ball rolling. Fortunately, there is plenty of help available for new and aspiring entrepreneurs. There are government websites that contain valuable small business ideas. So check out and get more business ideas. Also, share your own business ideas below in the comment box.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I think we are going to end this section till 1 o'clock to one of our main speakers, the former Commissioner of Education, when she come in, because we are trying to connect to the politics people. We are not getting them across. Please, we are going to end and start back again by 1 p.m. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for joining. We'll be sharing the link across again. God bless you.